Hey friends, it's Monday, March 17th, 2025, St. Patrick's Day. So for those of you who are Irish, keep it in check, would you? I know things can get a little wild, being a little Irish myself. I know you guys haven't seen my lovely mug in too long here, but it's maple syrup season on the farm. And in past years, I've tried to take video and make a whole comprehensive video about maple syrup season. And I end up kind of shelving the whole project and not editing it because it gets to be too much. Sometimes the season really drags on for a while. This is our first really good sap run day this year. I've had my taps out since late February. Conditions were really weird. It was warm enough, but the ground was frozen, and so the trees didn't quite know what to do. But we finally got a good day today, so I thought I'd bring you along as we saddle up here with the Allis-Chalmers and the sap wagon and head out and go collect. And then if I can do this right, I'll bring you back again another day when we do a boil for all this stuff, because I imagine we'll bring in quite a bit of sap today, so I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I'll be boiling. Oh, that's a good little backfire. There we go. Even blew a little oil out of the air cleaner. You might notice the filter I have in the top of this tote. It's because we have honeybees on the farm. They're not our bees, but a neighbor who is a beekeeping enthusiast has asked permission to keep his bees out here and has done so for a couple of summers. And with it being so warm out the last few days, the bees are all out and about. And a few of them unfortunately get themselves trapped in the sap bags. They see that bright blue bag and the sweet sap that's in there, and they think, it's lunchtime. And unfortunately they get stuck in there. And for those of you who are soft-hearted like myself, about half of them are alive, and when I dump them out and they get caught in that filter, I just tap them off the side and they manage to dry themselves off and go on their way. It is 63 degrees today, and in 2 days we're supposed to get 2 inches of snow. Gotta love Minnesota. And you never know. In a week, we could be planting oats. These 4 bags here all in a row. That is what we like to see. Oof. I just wanted to show you this view because I have so many bags in this one area. This is in a different section of woods. It's just kind of neat to see them all out there. and that's just a portion of them. There's more behind me. I'm actually up to about 96 taps this year, which is more than I've ever had before. I might have gotten a little overambitious, which just tends to happen. Putting the taps in is the easiest part, so if you got them, you got the drill, you got the bag of taps, you got bags, it's pretty tempting to just put in as many as you possibly can, as long as you can still find maple trees. It's when you get to boiling it that it becomes a problem. All of a sudden the sap run picks up and now you're in way over your head. Ask me how I know. Anyway, folks, from here on out, it's pretty repetitive. Just collect and dump and collect and dump. And I'm running a little short on time, so I'm going to finish up here with my collecting, put the camera down. But I will touch base here again when I'm done. We'll see what the grand total is. All right, so I lied. I'm back briefly to show you this monstrosity. That's as full as a bag of sap can get without overflowing, and that's going to take the cake here today for fullest bag of the day. Alrighty, friends, that's going to be it for collecting today. This is what I got, and I know it's not level, but if you kind of take the midpoint in there with the trailer sitting side to side level, it ends up to be about 60 gallons, and that's pretty good. A really good day would be 80 or 90 from that many taps. We're not there yet, and in fact, there's some trees I noticed some are running really, really well, and some aren't running very well at all yet. But anyway, that's going to be it here for collection day. I have my daughter has a band concert tonight, so I got to get out of here and go get cleaned up and get my going to town clothes on. And I will hopefully catch up with you guys tomorrow. I think we've got a thing to do in the morning, but in the afternoon, given how much I've gotten here, tomorrow would probably be a good day to do a boil. And the weather's supposed to be nice, so we'll catch up with you all tomorrow. Well, hey folks, welcome back. It's the next day, and in fact, things have worked out the way I was hoping, and we're gonna have a boil day today. I was concerned that the trees would keep running all night and that I might have to collect sap this morning, but there's plenty of capacity in the bags out in the woods yet. It's about noon. Dad and I had an errand that we had to run this morning, so I couldn't get the boiling process kicked off right away. But I'm gearing up here, getting prepped. Gonna eat a little lunch, and then we'll get the whole thing in motion. So I'll bring you along here through the preparation process, and we'll get to boiling. Just a little overview here. I've got my wood piles, which I'm kind of proud of. Unfortunately, this one I've already robbed a good chunk of wood off of it because of the earlier boils that I did. But I was able, for the first time maybe ever in my syrup making tenure, to get all of my wood split and stacked last fall after harvest. It seemed like every year I was trying to do this during syrup season, and it just adds another element of chaos if you're trying to split and stack wood. We have a lot of dead elm trees around here. Dutch elm disease kind of rolls through on a continuous basis, so I often have dead standing elm trees, and that's what most of this wood here is. So it didn't need to season for 2 years or a year and a half or anything like that. It was nice and dry when I cut it and split it. And then it's been sitting for the winter, drying down too. So I got the M here with the loader loaded up, and that'll be my wood supply for the 60 gallons that we're boiling today. Just so you can all see what this looks like before we fire it up. The way this is set up with this divided pan is that the sap drips in over here, and then it has to make its way through this channel into the middle channel, and then all the way back. Then there's a hole through the divider into the third channel, and then all the way down here to where our temperature gauge and our draw off valve are. Then when that temperature gauge reads 7 degrees over the boiling point of water, you've pretty much got syrup. I do check it with a hydrometer, so we test by density instead of just temperature, and that's more accurate. And then we've got our pre-warmer pan up here, so the sap can be run into this, and then it warms it up a little bit so it doesn't kill the boil so much when it goes into the main pan. And you can see right now this is all dark because I had done a boil, and once you shut everything down, it all kind of evens out and all reaches the same density throughout the whole pan. But once I start running fresh sap in and we get this whole thing boiling, it'll start to push all this more dense syrup towards the end here. And then it's all boiling at once, so everything on the end will start to get more dense, where there isn't fresh sap being added at the end of the chain. And that's how we get it to kind of develop this gradient over these 3 different chambers. And you'll see that as we get going here, if it isn't boiling too hard. Another thing about this setup, some of you may remember it from one of my previous videos. I've done some videos on making maple syrup in the past, but they were several years ago. So this is the same Smoky Lake Dauntless evaporator that I had. It's wood-fired. Clearly, I've got all this right here for fuel. I made some upgrades to it. One thing I've done is I've added extra fire brick on the inside. I needed to replace some of the fire bricks, so then I was able to take old bricks and put them up there. And I may even add some more as the season goes on. But the biggest thing is this box underneath, where I actually have added a blower fan. And that is made by Smoky Lake Maple. They put together that pressure box under there, and you order it as a kit. I thought about making one myself because I'm always trying to be frugal, but it just seemed to make more sense to buy the kit that was designed for the evaporator. And that has upped my boil rate quite a bit. When I purchased this setup, it was advertised as being able to evaporate 10 gallons of water per hour. You know, you're evaporating out the water to make the syrup more dense and condense it down. So evaporation rate is everything. It depends. That's what determines how good a time you can make and how much time you're going to spend standing here doing this pretty tedious task. I mean, the results are wonderful, but the task itself can be pretty mundane most of the time. I don't disagree with Smoky Lake's claims for 10 gallons an hour. I have hit that rate with this evaporator before I added the blower fan. But the conditions have to be really perfect. I mean, you have to have perfect wood, nice and dry, something that's dense like oak or like elm that I'm using. But it can't be rotten or anything. I mean, it's got to be just perfect. And the weather conditions have to be really good too. And so a couple of times I hit that 10 gallon per hour evaporation rate before I added the blower fan. But more often than not, it was somewhere between 6 and 8 gallons per hour. And that was pretty slow when I got into doing a lot more taps. I thought about adding a reverse osmosis system, but I just really like doing the fully wood-fired evaporator thing. And I think with a reverse osmosis system, I would need a nice sugar shack, because that equipment, once you build or buy one of those RO systems, it really can't get cold and freeze overnight. It would have to be hauled inside, and I didn't want to mess around with cold days and not knowing if I could keep that equipment safe and thawed out. And for where I'm at with my operation, I would need a building first, I think. So for now, the upgrade that I made was to add that blower fan. And I will say that has taken my evaporation rate up to 10 or 11 or 12 gallons per hour. I don't have it quite, I haven't done it enough yet to have it perfectly dialed in, and I haven't really fired this thing aggressively to see, you know, what's the maximum best time I can make. But it seems so far that it's above 10 gallons per hour by a little bit, which is great, because if I have 60 gallons of sap, I know I can cook through this in 6 hours. And in my life right now, time is everything. So that's what we needed to be able to do this at a little bit, not even a bigger scale. I haven't really increased my production of syrup, but what I wanted to do was cut down the number of hours that I'm spending doing the job. And in that regard, I'm really happy with it. That blower fan purchase was well worth every penny. All right, folks, it's lunchtime, which is about perfect because it's going to take this a few minutes to get going. So I'm going to run in, eat, run back out, check the fire, run in, get some coffee, run out, check the fire, and just do that a few times. And when I bring you back, we should have a good boil going. All right, lunch is over and we got her boiling really well here. violent. Okay, now we're officially all set up here. So I've got my draw-off kettle, and then this little basket up here has got a filter in it. I never used to filter the syrup coming off the evaporator. I used to filter at the end right before I bottled. This year I'm actually going to filter twice because I'll remove a lot more sediment from the syrup if I can filter it coming off the main pan, and then that'll be way less filtering that I have to deal with. How do I want to say this? It'll be way fewer plugged up filters when I'm actually bottling, and bottling's kind of time sensitive, so the less I have to deal with during the bottling phase, the better. So I've got my hydrometer cup and this little wire basket here, colander thing, and keeping the filter in the steam keeps it hot and a little bit wet, which then actually makes the syrup go through it better. If you dump hot syrup into a dry filter, it won't want to pass through it very easily, so that's why that's in the steam cloud. You do this long enough, you pick up all kinds of little tricks. It's just part of the deal. The thermometer has been steadily climbing, and we're just a couple of degrees away from pulling some finished syrup out of the pan. Alright, so I've been using the hydrometer here to check this, and usually it's about 7 degrees over on the boil, but on today, with today's conditions, it looks like it's going to be about 9 degrees over boiling point, so we're just going to double check this one more time. Let's fill up our hydrometer cup here, almost full. This is the part where you have to be careful not to drop the sensitive hydrometer. So you can see, maybe, I don't know, try to let you see there that it's floating in the syrup with the red line right there above the level of the liquid, so we know the density is past the point of being syrup, so now we can do a syrup draw. And I'm just going to run this until it drops a degree or two on the thermometer. Actually, I have to open up my valve on my pre-warmer pan. Whoop. This isn't perfect. I should probably build some sort of apparatus for this. Oh, the wind is getting me. God darn it. Well, like I said, it's not perfect. First year I'm doing this pre-filtering process, so there's going to be some teething troubles. There we go. That's not perfect, but it works. It should save me some headaches when I go to bottle, and I don't have to filter out quite so much sediment then. And the stuff that we're filtering is just a natural part of the boiling process. It's mineral precipitate that comes out of the sap when it's boiling, along with any other dust or dirt or anything that gets in the sap when you're collecting, which does happen. There's some other particles in there, and that's totally okay. All right, not bad. Now you can see our filter and all the sediment that we captured in there. That's just stuff that won't end up in the jars later on. And I'd say we probably gained a gallon of syrup there, or maybe a little less. All right, folks, I've shown you a little bit of everything on this process here. Been at this for almost 2 hours now, and we've boiled about a little more than 10 gallons out of the tote, and I was being cautious about it. So now I'm gonna probably put the phone down here. I gotta plug this thing in. I'm running low on battery power, and I'm just gonna try to make some good time here, and I'll bring you back around a little later. We'll see what kind of progress we made. All right, friends, it's approaching 5:30 here now, and I've been at this since, well, I guess I got the boil going just a little after noon, 12:30 or so, right before I went in for lunch. So we're cranking right along here. I've done a few syrup draws, burned through quite a bit of sap, burned through almost all my wood, and it looks like I will finish up at about 7 o'clock or so. We've got some bad weather coming in tonight. Tomorrow's supposed to be kind of a nasty day. So my goal was to get through all the sap and have empty equipment and cover everything up and tidy up and make sure everything's put away so that nothing blows away and nothing gets soaked that shouldn't get soaked. Anyway, I'll show you where we're at, and we'll kind of wrap things up from there. So as you can see, we've still got a nice healthy steam cloud going here. If I can get Oh, there we go. Sometimes you can see the bubbles and sometimes you can't, depending on how thick the cloud is. And we're getting close to another syrup draw. There's the firebox. Ripping away. And we're down to about 20 gallons of sap left. So that's another, couple hours and I'll be done. So anyway, that's gonna wrap it up here for my maple syrup video today. With that in mind, I guess, and having been said, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time around.